Welcome back everyone, Mariah Monetize here. In today's video, I'm actually going to be responding to a video titled 5 Reasons Why Americans Leave Puerto Rico and Why I Left. This video is by 𝘱𝘱𝘳𝘳𝘴𝘰𝘯𝘭𝘭𝘺. So honestly, I've just watched so far the first 90 seconds of this video. As I was watching it, I was like, you know what? I want an authentic response to what's going to be said. And so I'm going to be giving my perspective as someone who grew up in California, who moved to Puerto Rico nearly 3.5 years ago. So Raphael's experience has been very different than mine because he grew up in Puerto Rico and then he's describing why he left Puerto Rico. I wanted to make this video. It's very important to me because I was able to reach financial freedom at the age of 24. And on this channel, I share that with people every single day, what I'm doing and tips for you to reach financial freedom. It's super important to me. It just kind of feels like my mission in general. And so one of the biggest decisions, the biggest components that helped me reach financial freedom at the age of 24, where I was able to stop working completely, was actually moving to Puerto Rico. I quickly realized that the biggest expense that we have in life is taxes. And Puerto Rico gave me the opportunity to reduce my tax obligation dramatically. One thing that people typically don't think about is how much they pay in taxes every year. Think about property taxes, sales taxes, gas taxes, registration. If you ever get tickets, that's basically considered a tax. Income tax. There's such a variety of taxes on everything, and that's what our biggest expense is for most of us. So I'm going to go ahead and be responding to Raphael's video today and just giving my perspective on someone who has moved to Puerto Rico, doesn't plan on leaving anytime soon, versus Raphael, who is leaving Puerto Rico.
In this video, I want to tell you my story on why I left Puerto Rico, and why you should consider and what things to keep in mind before you actually move to Puerto Rico, or maybe you're thinking about moving in order to save on tax, or maybe you are in Puerto Rico and you want to move out of Puerto Rico. And I'm just here to tell you my personal story and the things that I saw going wrong with the country and the things that I saw going right with the country, and why I ultimately decided to leave. And I always felt that Puerto Rico was a great place to vacation, but not a great place to live. We had a joke in high school. It was, we live where you vacation. And we used to tell it to like Americans and these white people that would come to Puerto Rico, and we just make jokes like, we live where you vacation. But I always thought about that. We live where you vacation. Is that really the dream, to live in a place where people go to take a vacation?
Yeah, it is actually the dream. After moving to Puerto Rico, I quickly realized I will always live in a place where other people vacation. Why is that? People vacation here for a reason. It's beautiful. It has culture. There is an endless amount of things to do. I can go to the mountains tomorrow. I could fly to a nearby smaller Puerto Rican island the next day. The amount of food options are endless, not always consistent, but endless. There is always something to do to entertain tourists here. People come for a reason, right? It's a hotspot for a reason. So what I've learned, one of the secrets to life, I think in general, is living where other people vacation. Trust me, I've lived in a place where nobody vacations to, and I have no desire to go back.
And there's many reasons why I ultimately decided to completely leave the island as soon as I turned 18, but I don't think that you should move there just for the tax savings. There's a couple of things that I do want to actually tell you about Puerto Rico. The first one is the prices of goods and the prices of food, for example, or you go and buy decorations for your house, or just little things that you would buy in the United States or anywhere else in the world, are much more expensive in Puerto Rico.
Okay, so this is a really hard thing to say, because what are you comparing this to? Are you comparing this to somewhere in Florida? Are you comparing this to somewhere in California? As coming from California, not the Bay Area, not Southern California, right in the middle, the Central Valley of California, what I can say is that food prices are somewhat relative. You have the option every day to pick a cheap place to eat or an expensive place to eat. Okay, and you have to get creative. For example, if I love bell peppers and avocados and I go to Pueblo or Supermax and purchase one, I've seen a Hass avocado for $6, and I've also seen a green bell pepper for $3.50. But if I go to Costco, I can get 6 bell peppers for $7, and I can get 6 Hass avocados for $7 or $8. So you have to be creative, you have to explore, see different food prices. Yes, things are inflated here, but my basic living expenses would be the same in the Central Valley of California versus if you're here. If you're comparing this to like Mexico, Bali, Thailand, in terms of like that perspective, then of course, that cost, the basic cost of living is significantly lower. Things are rising in Puerto Rico dramatically, but so is it everywhere else in the States, right? Inflation is rampant. 25% of US dollars were printed in like a 12 to 18 month period of time, right? So inflation is just off the charts. No matter where you go, things are expensive. But yes, for example, I'm not going to go buy an organic head of cauliflower at Supermax because it's $9 and it's also rotting, right? So you just change things that you would do regularly. It's not like dramatic, but yeah, things are expensive, but it's really not that much compared to when I was in California. So for example, when I was in California, I was paying $900 a month in rent. Here I pay $1,000, but I'm also a block from the beach. And yeah, my rent is cheaper than others and I do have a roommate. But even when it comes to a rental, if you're creative, then you can find similar pricing depending on where you're originally from.
Think, oh, Puerto Rico, they make less money, things are cheaper. No. Because of the import taxes, because it's an island, everything needs to be imported. And there's a law. I'm not 100% sure about what the law is called or how it exactly works, but I do know that goods cannot be transported from other countries.
It's called the Jones Act.
That are not the United States directly to Puerto Rico. So let's say that we're importing something from the Dominican Republic, which is right next to Puerto Rico. It needs to go first to the United States, let's say to Florida. And then from Florida, it can go to Puerto Rico because we can't import, because it's a U.S. territory, we cannot import directly from other countries. We can only trade directly with the United States. So that obviously adds an extra leg to the journey of whatever product you're ordering. And then the taxes are higher. The import duties are much more expensive. So things in general are very expensive. We would go to, for example, like a grocery store in a nice area of the island, and you buy a little bit of cereal and it's like $8. You buy milk and it's $5. You buy, let's say, some granola and it's like $10 for a pack of granola.
All like depends where you're shopping. What I've learned is that Costco here, which has high quality products, is very, very similar to all the prices at Costco that are in the States, right? Maybe it's $1 or $2 more, but in general, it's typically the same. There are some products that are insanely inflated, like that organic head of cauliflower, but not all products are like that, and it just depends what you're looking for. But typically, produce quality is low here, but really expensive.
So the prices are quite extreme compared to what people earn there and just overall what the quality of life that you get there. The second thing, which is actually the quality of life and the safety. It's really a crime-ridden country or territory. When I grew up there, I saw my friends, for example, getting into trouble with drugs and getting into trouble with, for example, they would just get into a gang and they wouldn't know what kind of their friends was part of the gang. So there's a lot of gangs, a lot of crime in the country itself because of the drug trade, because of just a lot of people live in poverty. There's one of the places right...
Spoiler alert, if you're coming here and you don't plan to be a drug dealer, you're probably going to be okay. I have never felt unsafe in Puerto Rico. And honestly, I don't live that far away from one of the most unsafe areas. I live quite close. The most dramatic thing that has happened to me is, one, I got my scooter stolen, but like my dad got his truck stolen in California, which is way more severe. I have had the spare tire on the back of my Jeep stolen, but also it wasn't parked in front of my house. It was parked, at maybe not the best area. Maybe I didn't choose the best area, but I've never felt unsafe in Puerto Rico. I've even spent time down in La Perla where people are like crazy about not going to. You just have to be smart about your surroundings. And like, if you're not trying to start shit with people, then you should be okay. Like I said, I've never had any issues. I've never felt unsafe here. I do have like a high tolerance though when it comes to like, I just feel like everywhere I go, I feel safe. I'm never paranoid about people doing things to me. But in general, what I've learned is that Puerto Ricans, it's a very common here, like they have bars on all their windows, like the third, fourth level of buildings have bars on them. And I don't know if that's to protect from intruders or if that's to protect from shit flying around if there's a hurricane to like mess up your window. I'm not really sure. But there is this deep fear that Puerto Ricans have that I personally don't understand. But you know what? Maybe one day I'm going to get humbled by something and something crazy is going to happen to me. I'm not really sure, but you know what? I'm going to keep on living my life as is, because living in fear is not going to prevent something scary or unsafe happening to me. So I just live as is and enjoy my life. And I really don't understand the safety situation here. Or not the safety situation. I don't understand people's fear of safety. Unless you're out there slinging cocaine and marijuana and drugs, of course you're gonna have a target on your back if you're like in the drug scene or trying to get involved or starting things with people in gangs. I mean, if you come here as an expat, I don't know how you're gonna get involved with that. It's not like it's gonna accidentally happen or you're gonna like stumble upon it. I mean, you gotta put out an effort to get involved with those people. I'm pretty sure.
The capital, it's called La Perla, and it's right next to San Juan, which is the capital. And that place is just really poor, full of crime. I remember we went with one of my friends we were there just having some drinks and partying. And I remember seeing like everybody was armed with a gun. And we thought, if a fight breaks out here, people are going to start shooting each other and we're going to be in.
So one thing I recently heard, and I don't know how accurate this is that like, I think that a lot of people carry guns here. I personally considered it at one point, but I'm like, you know, that's a big responsibility. And I feel like you can never be relaxed and you're kind of just like, you have to be extremely aware, right? It's a huge responsibility to carry a firearm. And then I realized, you know, I'm not really interested in doing that. But that's one thing I have heard is that a lot of people do carry weapons here. Like I said, I've been down to La Perla. It does have an interesting vibe, but honestly, unless you pull out your phone and you're, you know, filming a drug dealing and people tell you to put your phone away and you don't and you start things, like that's how people have gotten killed and died. But if you just mind your own business and don't start anything, I don't know. I don't mind going down to La Perla every once in a while. It's kind of fun. I enjoy it.
And that's always a thought of mine. I know you might not have that thought because maybe you're living or you want to live in a very expensive area of the city, but there's a lot of crime. You don't really feel safe at times. They could break into your house. A lot of people, they've gotten their houses broken into. And for example, my uncle.
I don't know a single person here who has had their house invaded. Not one.
He was taking some money from the bank. I think he was taking like $20,000 from the bank one day. And a guy just pulled up, put a gun in his head and said, give me all the money right now. And he's like,
well, let's see here. I'm not really sure why someone would go grab $20K in cash. I mean, maybe a cashier's check would have been a better option. I mean, you got to consider that and think about your surroundings.
Is this a joke? How do you know that I have my money? And he's like, give me the $20,000. He's like, okay, here's the money. And they were following him before he went to the bank. And stories like this, and
So if they were following him before he went to the bank, then they knew for some reason that he was going to get the $20,000, right? I don't know. I think I'm missing something here.
Remember another story. I don't want to tell you too many personal things, but I remember I was taking a boat from one of the little islands, which is called Vieques, to Puerto Rico, to the main island of Puerto Rico. And I remember seeing a woman talking to her friend next to us, and she asked her, oh, how is your nephew, this guy, Juan, whatever. How's your nephew? Is he doing well? Is he in school? And she's like, no, they killed him. He was hanging out with one of the drug guys and they just started shooting at them and they killed him. And they just brushed it off like it was, my cat died or something. When I saw that, I thought, okay, I really got to get myself out of here and never come back.
Or you can avoid the drug scene. Seems like a common theme here. This is not what I expected on this video.
After that, I actually never went back because crime is just normal. It's a normal part of life. Even if you live in an expensive area of the country, it's part of how people live there.
If you want to think about the most expensive part of Puerto Rico, you're talking about Dorado Beach, which is the tightest bubble I've ever seen in my life when it comes to like a living situation. I would say the biggest crime going down in Dorado Beach is maybe you get your golf cart stolen. And it's really not stolen. Someone just got it confused with theirs and then they just took it accidentally because everyone leaves their keys in their golf carts because everyone is so stupidly rich that they don't have any motivation to steal anything.
The third thing I would say is just the lack of motivation that you have from living there. Whenever you go to live on an island or a territory that is very peaceful, people go there to vacation, again, live where you vacation, or people just go there to relax, you will be affected by that environment and your business will show that effect. You probably will feel like, okay, today I can just go to the beach, I can go to a party, I can just enjoy, not work on my business, where you might...
Okay, this is so accurate, okay? Most people that come here from the States, their productivity drops. But why? They're out enjoying their life. Their quality of life skyrockets. I've talked to many people who are like, you know what? I'd rather actually earn less and have more freedom and be able to enjoy my life more, right? There is the aspect of Puerto Rico where it slows you down. It slows down your pace. But I think that there's tremendous value in that, right? I always think, well, maybe this is how we're supposed to live instead of just working constantly. And like I said, I've said this in previous videos, what do most people regret on their deathbed? Working too much.
You might be in the United States, you might be somewhere else in a city where everybody's just hustling. Well, here, like Dubai, for example, I tell people, if you want beach lifestyle but also hustle, come to Dubai. You have a lot of that. There's a lot of money here. So you can definitely get that environment of, okay, I have to put in the work, I have to hustle, I have to make that money. Where in Puerto Rico, it's very laid back, very relaxed. You are kind of concealed to that island. And obviously, if you want to move to Puerto Rico for tax savings, if you want to move from the United States to Puerto Rico for tax savings, you need to live there for 6 months per year. It's a lot. It's a lot. I can tell you that after 3 months, 4 months, you will get kind of tired of the island.
I have not left since January 12th, and I don't really plan on leaving anytime soon except for the holidays to visit my family. So this is the thing, though. The 6 month is deceiving. If you are here for the capital gains, yes, you could be here for 6 months. If you have a business that is exporting services, anytime that you are in the States, you're actually paying taxes to the federal government and potentially state taxes for the money that you're earning while you are in that location. So the 6 months is kind of deceiving.
Nothing wrong against it, but I've lived in many places, and I can tell you that after 3 to 4 months, things start to change. It's no longer beach vacation. This is your house now. This is your home now. The fourth thing I would say, specifically for Americans that are used to speaking English everywhere, I don't live there anymore, right? I don't know how it's developing. But when I was there, there's still a lot of people that don't speak English. So if you're thinking, okay, it's a U.S. territory, I can speak English whenever I want, people still prefer speaking Spanish. And if you're not willing to learn Spanish, your adaptation to the island will be quite harsh.
No, I haven't learned Spanish. There are some things that could be challenging. Like, for example, I went to go get a procedure done the other day, and because a lady wasn't clear with me, even if she spoke English, I don't know if she would have been clear with me. I think it was more of a business ethical thing, but I kind of got screwed because she didn't really speak English, but it's not anything dramatic, and honestly, sometimes I do get ripped off here, and it's just like, you know what? It's part of the equation when it comes to paying 0% capital gains taxes, right? Everything comes at a cost. And my friend made a really good point. I think he says like Puerto Rico is 95% heaven and 5% hell. And there are some weird things that happen. Sometimes you get ripped off because, you don't speak Spanish, but it's just part of the equation. And you just move on and you accept it for what it is because you have to be able to look past certain things when it comes to anywhere you live.
You will not have an easy time adapting to the environment, making friends.
Oh, that is not true. I have made a ridiculous amount of friends here. Honestly, more than I could keep up with. That's the thing, is that's kind of what happens is expats come from the States, they end up clinging together because they all speak English. But there are a lot of Puerto Ricans that speak English as well, especially in the San Juan area. And most Puerto Ricans actually want to practice English, so they get excited to talk to you. That's been my experience personally.
Meeting other people. Obviously, there's a lot of wealthy expats from the United States because of the tax savings, but you will see a sort of discrepancy between, the people that speak English and the people that speak Spanish. That is just something that you should keep in mind before you actually move there and plant your life in Puerto Rico. And then I would say number 5, or the last thing that you should consider, is the education and overall raising children in Puerto Rico. Now that I'm getting older, or a little bit older, I have a wife, we're thinking about having kids in the next 5-10 years. I've been thinking a lot about where can I educate.
So I feel like I'm not even going to comment on this thing particularly because it doesn't apply to me. I don't have experience, but I know a lot of people here, like you have to put your kids in private school when it comes to education in Puerto Rico.
And I think the future of the island doesn't look pretty. And then one last thing is the tax savings. My dad is actually a Puerto Rican accountant. He's an accountant in Puerto Rico, certified in Puerto Rico. We've been talking a lot about tax savings and all of this as I start to make these videos about Puerto Rican tax savings. And he actually told me that the IRS is thinking of getting rid of all of these laws because of how much money they're losing from rich Americans that are moving to Puerto Rico. And they're thinking, okay, in the next 5 years or so, let's get rid of this. So keep that in mind.
So the tax incentives have been going on in Puerto Rico for decades. It started with pharma companies that were able to move here and get tax incentives. The U.S. Virgin Islands also have tax incentives. So there's always been talk about getting rid of the tax incentives, okay? But clearly they're still here, and they've been here. I believe that Act 22 and 20, which I think it started in 2012, actually. It's now called Act 60. So it's been around for nearly 10 years at this point, and it hasn't really gone anywhere. So if there was such a big deal, I'm sure they would have gotten rid of it already. But then you have the Virgin Islands. A lot of people say they would actually go to the Virgin Islands, and a lot of people say they would just renounce their citizenship in general.
Don't just blindly follow people that tell you, save on tax, move to Puerto Rico. Move to Puerto Rico because you'll save another extra 40% tax. So they try to sell you the dream of moving to Puerto Rico.
That's because it is a dream.
It's not really a dream. And I can tell you from personal...
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, I love this place. It is, it literally, sometimes I'm just like, am I dead or alive? Because this is so much fun. I love this place. I might be in heaven already.
Experience living 18 years there and finally getting the heck out of there. It's not what they advertise, and it's not as amazing as what they seem it to be. It's good to go on a cruise for a week, 2 weeks, enjoy the lifestyle, but after that, it's really not what they advertise. Thank you for watching this video.
That was a really interesting video. It was like, wow, I just didn't anticipate to disagree with so much of it, but that's just how it turned out. I hope you enjoyed this video about my response here. If you want to get more content in short form, check me out on TikTok. There's a link down below for that. As always, go out there and create a portfolio that you love.